Good times and great music at 2NURFM 103.7. Time to find out some of the things that are happening in the world of science. And whenever we learn that we actually have got a better chance of eating a little bit more, keeping our tummies full, that's probably a good thing. And firstly, good morning, John O'Connor, University of Newcastle Science. Hello, sir.
Good morning, Mark.
Always a bit of a challenge, isn't it, to make sure that there are enough crops being grown, because if the weather goes a bit kaput for you for a while, you can lose out. Plus, there's more of us around, so more of us do need to eat. A chance discovery is actually putting farmers in the right direction.
That's right. And in fact, the other thing is the soils are also gradually degrading. So, if you don't attend to that, then you get a declining yield as well. But a discovery which is reported in the journal Agronomy for Sustainable Development, all the right terms there, by an environmental scientist from Clark University. He used to be at Cornell, and it involves Cornell and a few other places. They sort of stumbled across a technique which is, I should say, as old as Methuselah.
Pretty much.
Yes. It's still practiced on small farms in the Caucasus, the Greek islands and the Horn of Africa, but it's a technique that goes back more than 3,000 years and it's been used in 27 different countries, but it's fallen by the way. And the technique is called planting maslins. Now, a maslin is a mix of cereals. So rather than just planting wheat or just planting rye or just planting barley or whatever, you actually plant a mixture of them and then you harvest them all together. Now, the beauty of this process is that each of these cereals like slightly different weather. Now, if you can't predict what the weather's going to do, you could end up with the wrong crop in your field.
This way you're guaranteed with something.
That's right. And basically, if drought strikes, then the crop yield would contain more drought-resistant strains of barley. And if it's wet weather, then the wheat would survive.
And of course, where you might be farming, you might get not enough rain. Somewhere else gets too much, and the same with heat. So there's always going to be a bit of something that's produced.
That's right. And what's more, if it's rye, if it's a drought year, then the more drought-resistant rye will do better than the less drought-resistant. So you're actually, tuning it to the conditions. But there are other advantages too, because for a long time we've been advised not to use monocultures, the one type of grain or the one type of any crop, because it opens it up to all sorts of problems with especially pest management. So by using multiple crops, you've got far better pest management. The pests might eat one grain, but not all of them. It improves the fertilisation, also improves wildlife health and sustainability. So it's got a lot of these benefits from this process. Of course, the problem is you've got to separate these grains at the end, but actually that isn't a problem because you don't have to separate the grains at the end. In fact, the communities that use this mixture, actually treat all the grains as one. So they make their bread out of multiple grains, they make their beer out of multiple grains, they make their flour out of multiple. So they don't actually worry about the fact you've got different grains there. They just rely on it. And so they've done some scientific experiments to check to see if this works. And so in a field trial of wheat and barley together, they did 20% better the mixture than wheat by itself and 11% better than barley by itself. And in another study, the monoculture land use would have had to increase by 50% to achieve the same result as the maslin mix over a number of years, over 3 years.
Right. So, like I said, more yields are up and they can do it with less space and probably a little bit more multigrain bread, John, to go around as well.
Well, you just don't have to do the mix for the multigrain bread. It's already mixed for you.
Yeah. All right, mate. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming in.
No
We'll
worries.
catch you in a fortnight from here. A little bit more grain in our tummies by the sound of things. Our Professor of Science out of the University of Newcastle, John O'Connor, on 2NURFM 103.7.
A broadcast service of the University of Newcastle.